Welcome, folks. We are live, and I am so delighted to have Heather join us this evening. Another one of our amazing speakers for our Women's Voices event on the 8th of November, which is getting scarily close, actually. Welcome, Heather.
Hello.
So, Anna, you are such an important part of this day because the work that you do with Surge Defence is quite incredible, really. So, how tell us more about Surge Defence before we get into the detail.
Yeah, I mean, Surge Defence, I started it about 6-7 years ago now. And I wanted to be able to offer self-defense for women, but in an environment that was inclusive of any age, ability, background, all of these sort of things. And I wanted to also make it accessible to everybody so that costs weren't a problem. So we run subsidized or very, very cheap courses for people. And then I realized within about a year into it that the biggest barrier to women in self-defense was more about the psychological side. They could learn the techniques, but the psychological side was the most important barrier to bring down. And that basically was where it all started. So now we combine psychological, theoretical, digital, and the practical. So an all-round approach, hopefully.
It sounds a lot when you say it like that, but actually the reality is you need to kind of do that because it's like the holistic approach, really,
Yes.
isn't it?
I think to do it any other way would be to take one element and teach to people, whereas what we try to do is to tap into all elements and parts of women's lives, and make sure that confidence and things like that is up in every area.
And I think that's the real thing, though, is that confidence piece, because it's not just one area. It's, you know, we're whole people. We're not half a person.
Yes.
We're not a quarter of a person. And if you've got a lack of confidence in any part of that, then actually that destabilizes the safety piece, I'm guessing.
Yeah, very much so. I think what can happen is women tend to pick up techniques great, you know, they can do them, and then by the end of the course, without the psychological somebody's worth, that really, that's the crucial part of all of our training is, does that person believe that they're worthy of protecting themselves, really? And without that, we started to see a real decline. People could act out the techniques, but when it came to actually physically using them, they couldn't do it. So we started to focus on self-worth and questioning, why are you here? What is it that you were looking for? And 9 times out of 10, the answer was confidence, which of course is learned, is linked to self-worth.
But you're so right. It is that self-worth bit, because, you know, and you know, when I read through the material that you've shared with me, you know, if we don't value our own worth, then actually, to your point, it's like, why would we defend ourselves? And it's that gap. You know, confidence is one thing, but worth is a much deeper, grounded, rooted even thing.
Oh, definitely. And I think when we go into worth, we call it the 3 Ps.
Okay.
And so self-worth is permission, prevention, and then power. So the first thing we focus on is women giving themselves permission to be aggressive, to reclaim their autonomy, to have their own thoughts. You know, we're so heavily conditioned as a society and things like that. Right from tiny, you're brought up, be careful when you're out and things like that. And we sort of have to strip away everything back down and go, when did you lose the ability to be aggressive? And bring that back, because actually of course we can if we're threatened, you know. And
yeah, of course.
So yeah, we do that. Then the next step is prevention. So it's teaching women and girls that if you have self-worth and confidence, then what you're actually doing, your body language, how your mannerisms, how you hold yourself, can actually deter a dangerous situation before it even begins. Because if you are coming across as confident and self-assured, then that's going to put potential perpetrators off. So you become less vulnerable with self-worth as well. And then the last one is power. And with that, again, it's about believing that they deserve to be safe, that they are allowed to have boundaries, and because those boundaries become a power in themselves, and the belief that they have the right to exist without fear, that it doesn't need to be normalized, it doesn't need to be a standard part of being a woman, that actually we can live without fear, that is allowed. And with all of that, without any of that, the self defense techniques that we teach, they don't really work as well. They've got to have that belief behind them, and when the belief is behind them and that self-worth, they can do anything. Women can achieve anything.
I'm totally with you. I think it's then that we recognize that we're limitless in some ways, and that actually we can step into our own. I mean, I think when I describe limitless, it's that safety in every space, which I know we've talked about. But where right now do you see is the biggest gap for us?
I think it's in feelings.
Okay.
I believe it to be in how women feel. And by that, I think it is that normalization that we accept daily. You know, if we're coming back late one night and it's dark, we just expect to be on guard. We expect to feel vulnerable. We feel that is normal, you know, and for me, that's where the gap is, because until we say, no, hang on, that's not normal. Like, we shouldn't be feeling like this. And, you know, it's down to things, social conditioning, cultural conditioning, social media conditioning, you name it. It's just been implied that, well, of course you're going to feel like that if you walk back late at night. And it's like, well, I do feel that, but it shouldn't be, of course you do. It shouldn't be that normalized.
Absolutely. It shouldn't be, well, you have to expect that. Well, no, we shouldn't actually have to expect that. It's one of the things for me when I did the walk and talks with the local police team here.
Yes.
To hear that voice from the women of the town saying that, I was just like, well, what say you literally, effectively what they were telling me was that they're logistically planning, how they were going to go out before they'd actually even left.
Yes.
Because that was where they were at. And I mean, I don't know, I did actually think at the time perhaps it was just me being naive. But that kind of made me sad that was kind of where they felt they had to be in order to step out the front door.
Yes. And I think we're all guilty of it. We've all had that experience. And I've got 2 daughters, and the eldest is now 17. And I find myself wanting to say to her, well, don't cut through the alley at night. And then I have to stop myself because I don't want to do it. I don't want to put that onto her. But I also, it's that reality as well. It's where's that line? Because the reality is she does have to be more careful.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to be the norm for her, and I want her to question it. So I think it's the normalization of harassment and assault and things like that. That's what needs to change.
I'm so with you. So when you, I mean, it's only about 3 weeks now till our Women's Voices away. I keep losing track of time. Although the weather outside keeps telling me that it is, getting colder.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So, for those who are joining us at the event on the 8th of November, Carl, what and who will be there? What do you most hope that they will walk away with that day, having heard, you speak and everyone else that day?
I hope that people walk away and have a look at their own beliefs and look at whether they were their beliefs to start with or not. Because for me, that's when I work with women in self-defense, the biggest thing that I notice is a lot of their beliefs that they hold, that they're weak, they're small, they shouldn't be out at night. There is no questioning of that. That's just what they believe. And then you say, well, do you believe that? Or where did you get that from? Oh, from when I was little. And it's like, well, then that's not your belief. And then they go, well, no, actually, it's not. And that's when women start to go, no, actually, I am angry about this. I don't want this. I want to be this. And so for me, that's the biggest thing, I think, is just planting that seed of have a look internally, because that's where self-defense really starts, is internally.
And I think that's the real power point, isn't it? It's it's that permission to be ourselves and to step into that space where we don't have to apologize, but we can just step in and be, rather than shrink to fit what the world wants us to be, but to be ourselves in that space and feel that that's okay, and to your point, when we are, I suppose, standing in our power, standing in our strength, that is because we're being unapologetically ourselves. That is the difference that makes the difference, I think. I am so super excited to have you joining us on the 8th. It is going to be an amazing day. And so thank you for this evening, and thank you for joining us on the 8th. And I can't wait to have you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Cheers there. Bye-bye. Have a great evening.
And you too. Bye.